Alright, let me ask you this. What are some horror sequels that you can live without? Just give me a random one.
That's a good question. You know, I'm gonna say Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yeah, but why? Some people actually like that one. That sequel was... They were trying to do their own thing, but explain it to me.
This is one of those sequels that really pissed me off, and I get it. Some people say it's unique, but let me explain it to you. He went full Rob Zombie. Okay? He added all of his crazy bullshit and blended it with Halloween. And I didn't like it, okay? Never go full Rob Zombie. You know why? Ask Rob Zombie. 2009, Halloween 2. He went full Rob Zombie. You know what happened? He nearly derailed the whole fucking franchise. That's what happened.
You just blew my mind with that. Wow. You have a good point.
What about you, man?
For me, it would be Seed of Chucky.
Oh, come on. That wasn't so bad. They were just having fun.
Let's start. Let me explain something to you. Fuck that movie, okay? It was a damn comedy show. It was just a hot mess. Chucky and Tiffany and their child Glenn or Glenda, whatever he wants to identify as, it was just a joke. Why was Redman in there? Why did Jennifer Tilly have to be playing herself, Tiffany? I don't fucking know. It's a joke.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Okay, one more. Give me one more.
Jason X.
Hey, well, Jason in space, why not? You have to watch it in chronological order.
That is no excuse at all. That movie was a hot mess from start to finish. How the hell are you gonna have Jason in space fighting all these damn morons that were able to outsmart him? It's ridiculous.
I guess you're right. Could have been worse. Well, that is the worst. It can't get any worse than that. You know what I think? I think we need to have someone come in and help us out. Do you know anybody? Hey, isn't that Devon Graham?
What?
Hey everybody, Andrew here from Hey Isn't That Devon Graham, and I want to give a big thanks to my good buddy Strange Monkey over at Strange Monkey Reviews for asking me to collaborate with him on this video today. Today we're going to be talking about 5 horror sequels we could basically live without. Now, I don't really spend a lot of time talking about movies I don't like, but I do feel like I have something to say about these particular movies. And I only owned 3 of the 5 that I'm going to talk about today, so let's go and start with the first one. Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Now, as far as the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise goes, I have a lot of great nostalgia for it. I grew up with these movies. It was probably the first big horror franchise that I fell in love with. The first 3 movies are all excellent to me, the second one being my absolute favorite. I always have had a great time with Freddy's Dead, and New Nightmare is just absolute money. It's the 2 movies in between, Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master, and Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child, that I really have no desire to ever rewatch. I did try rewatching this movie a couple years ago, and it fell just as flat as it had way back then for me. So this is kind of a double whammy, because without the Dream Master, we wouldn't have Dream Child either. I really am not a fan of this movie. I think that Freddy Krueger is pretty funny in it, and there are some great kills. I wouldn't deny that for a second, but the character of Alice has always been extremely dull to me. I've never gotten on board with her character, and really the characters are kind of the heart of these movies. You gotta follow them as they're being tormented by Freddy in their dreams, and I just can't really get behind Alice. I never have been able to in this movie or the next one, so I'm probably really never want to watch this movie again. I'm sure it'll come up in some sort of marathon, or at least I'll give it another chance, but I really have no desire to. Up next, I want to talk about Return of the Living Dead Part 2. Now, I don't own this movie, but I did used to, and I sold it pretty quickly after getting it. My trouble with Return of the Living Dead 2 is everything that I really loved about the first one is missing. And I understand that, for somebody who loves the first one, they might find plenty of things they loved in the second one that were retained from the first one. But not for me. I felt that the movie was very tame, and this is just pertaining to my taste in particular, by the way. I felt that the first one had a good balance of humor and gratuity and just obnoxiousness, whereas the second one felt like it was just a PG-13 version of that movie. You follow a kid throughout the movie. This humor is kind of more silly and more childish, I would say. So that's stuff that just doesn't work for me. I love Return of the Living Dead Part 3. It's my favorite of the series personally, But Return of the Living Dead 2 is one I never have any intention of watching again. The next one I want to talk about, I've talked about before, and that's Wrong Turn: The Foundation from 2021. Wrong Turn: The Foundation is easily one of my least favorite horror movies I've ever watched. It serves as a reboot or a reimagining of the franchise, and it's just truly pays no homage to the original in any way whatsoever. You can kind of get on two sides of this argument, whether you think that it was a good idea for them to just try something completely fresh, and I can respect that, but what the movie gave us, I just felt was completely lackluster and cringy at times even. Some people I've heard try to compare this to the likes of Halloween 3 Season of the Witch and say that if the movie was simply called The Foundation, it wouldn't have the reputation it does. And while I will agree that there probably are a lot of Wrong Turn fans out there who were turned off expecting certain things from it, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that if this movie came out as a Foundation and I picked it up, I'd really dislike it just as well. Maybe I wouldn't be as annoyed with it because I am a huge fan of the Wrong Turn franchise and all of its sequels, but just on its own merit, it's a really fucking dull movie. It's really cringy and I can't stand it, and I have no interest in watching it again. Up next, we're going to talk about Halloween 2018, directed by David Gordon Green. I remember seeing this movie in the theaters. I was extremely hyped up and excited. Throughout the past year, David Gordon Green and everybody over there at Blumhouse had really been hyping up this movie as a wonderful successor to the original 1978 film by John Carpenter. They really wanted to pay respect to what that movie was, the incarnation of Michael Myers that was represented in that movie, and continue that story gracefully. And I really just feel like they miss all the points of what made that movie great. Now, it seems unfair in a way to compare the 1978 classic to this movie, but I'm just going off of what I was sold by these people. As far as Michael Myers goes, James G. Courtney is excellent in the movie, there's no doubt about that. But he completely lacks the boogeyman supernatural vibe that Nick Castle's portrayal had. And I'm not really going to put blame on James G. Courtney for that. I think he is a really great performer, and I think it really just had to do with the directing. I don't think that David Gordon Green understood what Michael Myers was supposed to really be as represented in that 1978 film. On top of that, I really don't care for the portrayal of Laurie Strode in this movie. That's not knocking Jamie Lee Curtis's performance. She's a great actress, and she does do a good job with what she's given in this movie, but it's just really over the top and silly. And again, if this is going to be a successor to that 1978 film, that's just an odd direction to take it, in my personal opinion. I much prefer her portrayal in Halloween H2O. Overall, this movie just aggravates me. It's my least favorite in the franchise for that reason. I wouldn't by any means say it's the worst movie in the franchise. It's certainly a well-made movie. The score is excellent, but the fact is it annoys me to no end, and the more I've watched it since 2018, the less and less I've liked it. I really don't have any interest in revisiting this movie because I really don't have any interest in annoying myself, and I have very tempered expectations for what's to follow with Halloween Kills and Halloween Ends. As a Halloween fan, I'll definitely check them out against my better judgment, but this movie, can't stand it. And I decided to save the best for last. This is a movie that I know I won't really have many people agree with me. I don't even know if I've met more than 2 or 3 people personally who would agree with my feelings about this movie. And that movie, of course, is Friday the 13th Part 6, Jason Lives, directed by Tom McLaughlin. Now, for what it is, he did a really great job with what he did with this movie. He really amped up the humor, made it very self-referential, which was a very interesting idea at that time, well before Scream. CJ Graham is great in his portrayal, and there's some very fun characters throughout the movie. But again, just like my criticisms with Return of the Living Dead Part 2, this movie is missing a good amount of aspects of what I like about this franchise, namely in the gratuity. This movie feels like a PG-13 Friday the 13th movie, and it just kind of is dull for me all around because of that. This is the only movie that really has kids in it, and they're not the main characters by any means, but every one of those scenes with kids really feels like I'm watching kind of a kid's horror movie. The characters, while I will say that they can be very entertaining at times, they're very animated too and silly. And coming off of Friday the 13th Part 5, which is my personal favorite of the franchise, those characters were just crazy and wild and obnoxious. These ones are just silly kind of caricatures, and I just can't really get behind any of them. Like I said, CJ Graham is great in the movie, but most of the kills are unfortunately not that gratuitous. I'm sure that really had more to do with the MPA than anything. Although recently, when my good buddy Christian Hanna interviewed Tom McLaughlin, he did mention that he doesn't really have an extended version of this movie to show. He's pretty happy with what he put on screen, so I don't think he really ever intended this movie to be too gratuitous. And I can respect where he's coming from, but I have no interest in watching this entry, and, you know, I probably won't.
Hey there. Thank you so much for watching this epic collaboration between myself, Noodles, and hey, isn't that Devon Graham? What I need you to do right now is go to his channel. Do it now. Right now. It's all in the description. Be sure to subscribe. Click on that damn notification bell because I said so. Alright? Follow me on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that good stuff, all that beautiful stuff. And have yourselves a good fright.